Okay, thank you so much. So one more time, hello everyone. I'm Johnny. I'm PM in Supernova, and currently I'm primarily focused on our new vibe coding platform that is basically built to be connected with the design system. So if you don't know Supernova, or I hope that at least one of you heard about Supernova before, but originally we are a Czech-based company. We are grounded in the design system. So we have been building for a couple of years one of the best design system platforms in the market. And now we have decided to build actually the vibe coding platform that is connecting the context brought from the design system platform to prototyping. So you can actually enable your teams, your PMs, your designers, your engineers to vibe code together as a team in one single unified AI context with your components, with your design system documentation, with everything that you need out of the vibe coding platform that is actually grounded in your product, in your design system, so you can create prototypes that look, match functionality of your product and actually feel like you would work with your actual product. But yeah, so that is going to be our topic today. Which is the design or actually the AI context. So we are going to go through four main topics. I'm going to talk about why the right context, I mean AI context, matters for vibe coding. What are the problems the market is trying to solve at this moment, and what are the struggles enterprise companies have when it comes to trying vibe coding tools. And I'm going to show you how to connect the data and provide the right context to AI agents. So I'm going to show you how to transition from the design system platform we have to the vibe coding. I'm going to show you even how we are preparing our own code components for the AI. So AI understand everything, how to work with the components, when to use them, what are the properties, and everything you need to teach the LLM to do it correctly. So I'm going to show this as well. Then we are going to vibe code together a little bit. So we are going to create a new feature in Supernova. So we are going to ideate a little bit. We are going to prototype with our design system, and I will show you how you can share the prototype with your team, how you can involve them, because the whole environment of Supernova is by default collaborative. So you can do everything as one team in a single context. And then I'm going to show you how you can pass the right context about the feature you just prototype, including the documents such as PRDs, one-pagers, or some sales sprees, or whatever you are going to create in Supernova with the prototype. You can share via MCP to the cursor, to Claude Code, other tools that your engineers are using, so you can speed it up the delivery as much as possible. So I really hope that you are going to enjoy this session. Please excuse any problems with the, no, I'm just kidding. Everything will work. But if it will work, for example, slower a little bit, so please excuse that we are going to have some slower loadings. It may happen. All right. So why the rich and unified context matters for vibe coding. So everyone knows, and you are familiar with the problem that with the rise of AI, that brings basically prototyping capabilities to everyone in the company, even the non-technical people. I'm not a technical person. I don't use Cursor on a daily basis. I don't work as still in a Claude Code with a CLI. I'm not that type of the person. I'm not grounded in tech deeply. I'm more focusing on what is the value for the customer, how to sell it, how to offer it to the customers. So I had a struggle like 2 years ago to actually express myself. When I wanted to create something, some new exciting feature, I needed to explain it, write it out into the PRD, hand it over to designers. Then we went through the customer calls. We needed to figure it out what is the solution. So this is the game that completely changed. And I bet that everyone already tried some vibe coding tools such as Lovable or even Cursor or Claude Code or maybe V0 or those kind of tools that are allowing you to create something that may look like your product. It may use the similar patterns. It may use the same tokens, colors, and so on, but it never went through the successful handoff to the engineers. And that's something that we are trying to bridge this gap between prototyping and actual handover to the engineers. So there are two main benefits. And I really love this conversation with one of the CPOs of our customers company. And he mentioned that by implementing vibe coding to our daily routines, to our daily workflows, we are looking for two outcomes. We would like to scale the design team because we don't want designers to spend their time on some iterative improvements into the platform. So we would like to enable PMs to actually create prototypes that match the design system, that match the production actually in terms of the UI, so they can hand over to engineers and actually ship it on their own. So designers can really focus on the harder, more innovative features that require more design thinking, more design research, so they can actually spend more valuable time there, except like instead of implementing some low-hanging fruits, as we call it, that can be actually done by the PM. And the second was that we would like to scale front-end engineers. So they are not looking for a prototyping tool that is going to produce something that they can validate that doesn't look exactly like your product, and it's not using your code components. So they are actually looking to bridge this gap between the discovery and the handover to engineers with prototypes that are actually ready for a handoff. The prototypes engineers can take not as granted, but they can pick pieces of it that are actually reusable and they can use it in their implementation workflows. So this is something that we are trying to do, and I'm going to show you what context we are actually working with. So the main thing when you ask yourself, why do I need to think about the context and so on? So if you want to create and hand off truly valuable prototypes that look, feel, and work like your product, you need a deep understanding of how your product is designed and built. And as a non-technical PM, I don't know that we are using some, components. I like 2 years back, I haven't even know that we have some design system. But now with the rise of AI, I need to think more about those kind of things, and I need the teams to prepare the environment, the sandboxes, the put together AI context that is provided to the agents, so the agents can help me actually build something that makes sense and is actually ready for handoff. And when I'm talking about the context, first, we need to have all the data that we need for building with your product. And when it comes to data, we are talking about design data, code data, and then the third building block is basically business data, business context that we need to have as well. So when we are talking about the design, it's basically Figma components, tokens, assets, some description of the interactions with the product, design guidelines. Everything around the design can be stored also in Supernova, and you can take it and use it in building the context for AI. Then you can bring actually your code. So recently we have implemented a feature that you can actually bring your code components to Supernova. You can provide guidelines on how to work with those components, how to work with templates. So basically you can create templates out of your product, bring them to Supernova, document them, and provide them to the AI agents. So your teams doesn't have to create or doesn't have to set up the cursor. They don't need to understand IDEs, I don't know, terminal repos and so on. So they can just start vibe coding with your product from the day one without any knowledge about those technical constraints. And last but not least, the third part is actually I, as a PM, need to provide building agents with something that will navigate them through the development of the feature that will actually bring like some value, some business value. So we are talking about the product context in terms of user personas, who we are actually building the feature for. What is the desired outcome of what we are trying to build? What is the actual project assignment? So all those pieces of the context are possible to upload or get or create in the Supernova. So you can then share them to your product teams that they can use for vibe coding. So we are talking about the design context, code context, and business context that we are putting together. And that's why we have actually built those two products. On the left side, you have a design system platform where you manage your design system, create documentation, which is a huge piece of the context that we are going to work with. And on the right side, you have a portal, which is the vibe coding platform connected together with the design system where your team can come. They don't even need to understand that there is some design system. They have everything baked in and they can just start expressing themselves in natural language. I would like to create, for example, a password protection to the prototype sharing feature or something like that. So this is very collaborative approach to vibe coding with your design system. And I'm going to show you in a while how those two worlds are connected. So let's take a look on how together and provide the right context to AI agents. I will just switch my screen. So give me a sec. All right. Can you confirm you can see Supernova here? I hope that you can.
Yes.
All right. So now we are in the design system platform, and here basically you see that we have data sources. This is really important because first thing we need to do is to collect all the data and then use the data to provide good context. So data itself are super valuable, but it's just one piece of the story. The second piece of the story is how to use the data, when the AI agents should use the data, and in what context they can use the data to make actually something valuable. So here you can see that we are working with two types of data, design data and the code data. When I jump into the data sources, you see the exact split here, design data and code data. And when we are talking about design data, we are talking about all the tokens, all the Figma components, all the assets. When we are talking about code data, primarily for the documentation purposes, we are talking about storybook stories that are valuable as well. And this context or this data you can build, you can use for building a documentation, which is super valuable for AI agents. So this is one of the documentation that our client Muse created. And here I bet that all of you are familiar with how the design system documentation looks like. But until now, most of the consumers were just people. We were building those documentations for designers, for engineers. And now the main consumer of the documentation will be the building agent who is actually consuming every single piece of the documentation, including, how the components should be used, what are do's, what are don'ts. So what we are trying to do is to actually scale the design team so people like me can create something that look actually like the product and is copying or is using all the guidance that design system team already provided in the documentation. So this is one piece of the story, or one piece of the AI context that we are providing to the vibe coding agent. Second piece is focus on the code. So I'm going to show you how you can bring actually pieces of your product, including components, patterns, and templates to Supernova. So recently we have delivered this feature called code containers. So what you can do here, and I'm going to try to explain it not in a technical way, but how I understand it. Basically, what we are not asking anyone for getting credentials to your Git. Not at all. We provide you with the architecture where you can actually bring or fulfill the container with the data about your product. It means components, how to use the components, bring the templates, actually starting points that are matching your product. So this is everything included in the container. And then through the CLI, you can upload it to Supernova. Once it's in Supernova, we see all the components. We see the guidance that you provided, how to use them. You also imported your NPM package and so on and so on. So everything is based on this technology of the container. It means that everything is super flexible. So you can bring whatever you want. It's based on React. It's available also for Angular, Vue, everything. And I'm going to show you how does it look actually when you would like to create the container and upload pieces of your product to Supernova. So here, I promise it's not going to be technical. It's this cursor, and I just pulled our repo here, and I would like to show you how the structure of the container looks like. So you can actually understand what kind of context we are providing to agents to work with those components correctly. So first of all, we have a package JSON here. What does it mean? That here we are basically saying what is the name of the container that you saw here in Supernova, what are all the dependencies, and here in the bottom you have the private dependencies where we basically share our npm package with our components, also with icons. So this is one piece. And also on the left side, you see that we have usage MD, templates MD, icons MD, components MD. And basically the cornerstone of this is the usage MD, which is steering the AI agent through the whole structure of the container. So if you are building this feature, you would like to use those kind of components, you should be looking for information about components in components MD. Here in the components MD, we have basically a list of all components available in the npm package that you basically provided to the container. And each individual component has its own MD file as well. So from this like high level document explaining how the AI should work with the components, we can go even deeper. And here we have for every single component individual MD file where you find a description so AI understand, what the components is about, how to use it, how to actually how how to use it, how to get it, how to import it. And then you have here what are the properties of the individual components. So you also provide this guidance to the AI agent. What we are doing right now is how we are trying to automate as much as possible, because you can imagine that even if we use a cursor and try to prompt to create those kind of usage MDs and other markdowns, it's time consuming. And what we are trying to do is to provide engineers with a tooling that you can run, analyze your code base on your own. You will get very structured output of what kind of components you are using. It will basically scan all the comments and documentation that you provide about components in your code base. It will scan your stories and so on, so on. So we are trying to provide you with the context in minutes instead of hours or days creating those MD files on your own. But this structure, we found this structure very powerful and very rewarding, even when initially we spent a lot of time on creating this kind of guidance. It feels much better with this approach than without, when we are wipe coding with our design system. So this is in a nutshell. Here, what you can find as well are the templates and the patterns. I'm going to just explain what is the idea behind those. So basically, templates are, we call it the starting points. So initial idea of the templates when you are working with any other vibe coding tool is that you create something, you don't want to create it again, you would like to reuse it, you will save it as a template. We have slightly different approach. Templates are really pieces of your true product. So for example, starting point for us would be home screen of the design system platform with all the functionality in terms of UI. Or for example, we are trying to prototype something in the prototyping part. So I would have, portal feature detail, which is, I'm going to show you how those templates look like. I'm just trying to explain the idea, what you can bring and how flexible the approach of the container is, that you can actually bring, I don't know, 10, 12, 20 different starting points that your teams need, and they are actually matching the production, because that's what you are working with. Then what are the patterns? Patterns are smaller pieces of UI. Those are not starting points. Those are some granted pieces. So for example, prompting window. And it's something that we are using everywhere. It has some native functionality. So for example, mentions and so on, I'm going to show you. So this is something that we already have baked in and our design system team prepared. And all people can use it just out of the box, just by having it there. And you can mention it as it would be, your coworkers, you are mentioning your people in the team. You would mention this shared popover, and it would just understand that, I should use this predefined pattern. So this is in a nutshell how we are preparing the context. So just to summarize, we have imported our NPM package with our components, with our icons. We also provided some public dependencies. Then we created a usage MD file that is steering, which is basically a part of the system prompt for the agent when the agent is working with the container, and it's steering the agent through the structure of the container to understand where to find what information and how to use the components, patterns, and templates. So this is in a nutshell. And once you have all the data about your design, here you have the documentation, which is a great source of the knowledge about your product, and you have code container fulfilled with your code components. The next initial step would be how to connect those pieces together. Of course, this is something where we are going, but more important right now is that you can share it with your team. So we have introduced something called shared context. And here, basically what the shared context is, we are using two. The first one is not using our design system. It's meant to be it's using SHA-CN, and it's used for low fidelity prototyping. To be completely honest, with a high pace in startup, we are not using low fidelity that much, but even though I sometimes feel that we should, because the problems are complex and we shouldn't prototype everything in high fidelity. So time to time, we are using low fidelity for high level exploration of the approach, but primarily we are using our context, which is using also the container and also the dark matter design system. So I'm going to show you this one. In the shared context, we are combining two things. Basically, the design system, as you see, I switched the workspace, so I don't have the right data here. But normally, for example, Muse, as you saw before, you would see that they have hundreds of tokens, they have hundreds of pages, and also soon coming vector assets such as, some illustrations or the icons. So everything you have in your design system in the DSP is available in the shared context. And then the second piece is that you can provide also the containers. So here, if you have multiple different containers, for example, you have multiple different products in your company, or you have a website and then the product, you have multiple different ways how to use the structure of the containers. And here you can pick what kind of version of the container you would like to use for prototyping. So this is a context that design system team can put together, can upload anytime they want. And then what they can do is to actually provide a custom knowledge. What is the idea behind is that we are providing here to the agent information about what we are actually building, who our customers are, what they expect, what our current platform already knows. And it's basically providing all information about our business to the prototyping agent so it can be a little bit more personalized for our needs. So information about our business, very, very essential. And also connection to the design system and connection to your code component, templates and patterns, everything in one place. Perfect. We are quite ready to go prototyping, which is the most exciting part here. So let me spin up the portal. And before we dive into the prototyping session, I would like to show you a couple of things here. So first of all, this Supernova portal is meant to be for design system consumers. So first use case here is that you can ask about your design system, anything. I will switch to the different workspace. So if you are an engineer or designer and you are looking for what kind of buttons we have, you can just search really quickly, instant search across your design system, assets, components, typography, everything. So everything in one place. You can also ask questions about your design system. So it's basically sourcing your published documentation and you can ask questions. What kind of button should I use? And you get the idea. If I'm going to press enter, you will basically see the conversation with the agent, and you can ask questions like, what kind of for example, wording should I use here? If you have copy in your design system documentation, some of our clients already have copy there. It will guide you how to work with words, what kind of approach for implementation you use. So basically everything coming from the documentation and from the stories you can use here, and you can ask about it. More important is the create part, or more important, it depends. For me, it's exciting to be able to build. But what I would like to show you first is actually what we have in the container. So here I just created a prototype that will show you. And in this prototype, I just said, please agent, show me a library of all the building blocks I have available in the container. And it created this nice view on what kind of components I have, what kind of, I'm sorry, what kind of patterns I have, what kind of templates I have. And here I have just understanding like I have, all right, I have some buttons, I have some text fields, I have some alerts, badges, and so on. It didn't create a preview for every single thing, but you get the idea that it's actually prototyping with your components. Then when I was speaking about the patterns, we have three different patterns here. So for example, one of them is the share window. And the share window is fully coded piece of the UI that we are using. And for example, we knew that we are going to work on this inviting workflows. So we have created this pattern in a couple of minutes. And basically, we have the native functionality of our platform directly available in the prototyping. And we have created multiple different features in this dialog without recreating the native functionality all over again. Then one of them is, for example, publish popover, or here we have a prompt editor with all the native functionality that we can prototype with as well. And when we were talking about the templates, for example, we have here, the shell of the app. So what you saw in the DSP part, we are able to use the left side of navigation. We can prototype the content of it. When you are using your components, it's actually trying to match everything as is already designed and coded in your actual product. For example, we have here a site when we would like to create something for settings, or when we are creating something in the prototyping part, we have the whole prototyping environment here as well. So basically, I spent last 2 months creating those low-hanging fruits on behalf of our designers. So what I've done actually that I spin up this template really easily, and I just said, please create I don't know, full screen mode, and it just created full screen mode. I send it to async. Critics to our designers. They shared, actually, they joined me in the prototyping, and we were able to use this template in multiple different ways without recreating it again or uploading the new version of the container. And of course, Portal Home, this is something that we have been, and you see that all those native navigations, sorry, no, the animation. So even if you are going to share it with your customers, everything looks exactly like your product. Sometimes it's actually hard to recognize what's right, what's true, and what's the prototype. All right, so this is what we have in the container, and now we can try. So let's jump into the third part. I'm going to show you how you can prototype with your design system and primarily with your team, because as I mentioned before, the Supernova is fully collaborative. So what's the most important here? We have selected the Supernova sandbox, which is containing our design system. And here, this is for internal purposes. We don't have multiple different models available yet. Everything is based on one of them. And here we are going to start a little bit different than in other tools because I'm going to paste the prompt here. And what I'm saying here, I want to create a simple one pager about delivering a password protection for our prototype sharing. So what I'm trying to do here is to actually create a knowledge, a business knowledge, to provide the AI agent with everything I know, what I would like to build, try to describe it as much as possible. And instead of pasting it and just starting a prototype, I can create a document, which then serves as a piece of knowledge. So if you are going to create a project, and the project is actually, I'm going to show you before it will be loaded. Now, when I sent the prompt, I created a project. The project has its shared knowledge, its shared context. So basically, I can create multiple different prototypes. So for example, I'm working on some bigger project. I don't want to mess multiple different features in one prototype. So I can create multiple different features. I can reference each other when prototyping the other one. So everything is interconnected, including the documents that can serve as a handoff document. So for example, you're creating, I don't know, marketing brief or sales brief. So you can generate from the prototype what you have actually built, and the agents will give you also the wording, how or messaging, how your marketing team should launch this feature, and so on and so on. Or you can use it as a knowledge. So when you are going to bring, for example, one pager. So agent will try to give you everything here in the editable form, so you can jump into it, you can align with your team, you can comment on what's there, and it's basically a Notion included in the platform, so it's everything in one single context. So here you see that I have quite good one pager. I can align with my boss. I can align with my team. And what I can do primarily is that I can chat, I can iterate, and every single iteration will give me suggestions. So for example, add also release plan. So here, what I'm trying to do is actually um, craft the best prompt I can before I try to one-shot the feature with the prototyping agent. And this is a great way how to steer the prototyping agent even more towards what I'm trying to actually deliver. One of the use cases would be, for example, that I have actually added acceptance criteria. So during the prototyping, I'm going to show you, all right, so we have a release plan. I'm not going to spend so much time here, but as you see, I can basically accept every single suggestion. I can go through it. I can manually edit it, and so on and so on. So everything is editable in a multiplayer as well. But what is more important, that if I'm going to, for example, put here acceptance criteria or success criteria, I can prototype with the prototyping agent, and anytime I can mention this document and ask the prototyping agent, do you think that with this state of the prototype, we fulfilled all the acceptance criteria or we missed something? So you can actually keep the knowledge as a source of truth in terms of what's the scope, what problems are we trying to solve, what are the acceptance criteria, and so on. Because even from our experience, when we have this possibility of prototyping with our components. So everything looks so natural, so quick. And we are forgetting on the design creates what was actually the problem we have been trying to solve because creating the solution is super easy now. So this is great practice of keeping you actually keep your mind in the problem that you are trying to actually solve. And you can ask your agents, are we actually on the same page? Are we actually solving the problem we have been about to solve? And this is a great way where you can actually keep your knowledge. So now what we can do is to actually go to build part. And here I have another prompt ready. I can create the prototype and I will start with just spacing based on the functional requirements from this doc. And here I can just mention, sorry, Grammarly. Oh my God. I can just type at and I can reference the document, build build a prototype. Make sure you use the publish prototype pattern because I know that we are using it. So I will just double check that. All right, please use this pattern. I know that this piece of UI I would like to prototype on is already there. You don't have to try to reuse it. So let's see what it's going to build. It will take some time. I promise that I hope that it's not going to take that much time, but always the first shot takes some time. So until then, I'm going to show you a couple of things here as well. As I mentioned before, the Supernova is fully collaborative. So I just open on the second monitor a different user that can also prototype with me, and I will try to demonstrate the multiplayer here. So I will join as Tony here. And as you can see on the top right corner, Tony joined here and can actually leave a message here, or Tony will leave the message here. So here I can go what we are building here. And you see that it's basically sent as a chat message. So you can make also the decision. So for example, what we are struggling with in Supernova now, that we are still used to have everything in Slack. So we are thinking about some close integration, like Linear has it, for example, with Slack. Because if you are going to make those decisions here, everything is kept in the same context. So then when you are creating something, for example, a new feature, you already have the memory, you already have all the context of the decisions that you have made here in the chat, or your friends or your colleagues just created different iterations. Everything is kept in the project, and it's very valuable to make those conversations here. What is also important to understand that uh, we have a branching here, built-in branching. So it's also very important for the collaboration because I, as a Tony, cannot build right now. I would use some queue or whatever, but what I would like to do is to actually experiment with some different approach. So that's why we have new threads. So you can actually write once the first iteration is done because it actually sources the first iteration. I cannot do it now. But what I would be able to do, I'd like to try completely something different. And without breaking anything in the main chat, I can actually open a new thread, branch it. I can iterate as I want without breaking each other's work. I can then mention one of my friends. So for example, I would mention, hey, Matt, what do you think about this? They will get the notification. They can join me in prototyping in the thread, and we can get into the point where we are ready to merge. So I will show you threads in a while. So once the agent will validate the output, now it's finalizing the output. Hopefully it won't let me down. You know, the first shot is always a little bit of a risk, but let's see. I will use this second. All right. Okay. All right. Awesome. So where we are. Okay, we have a prototype here. What we have here is a publish button. As you can see, we have the native pattern that we have in the container, basically the publish prototype. So if I open the native one, it's actually looking the same. Of course, it doesn't have the preview of the iteration because it's mocked. So here it's I can edit there later. But what is more important that it actually added the password protection here. So we don't have it here at all, but it was able to understand where should I put it, what kind of components should I use, how it should look like. And even though we don't have connected the design system documentation yet for our purposes. We have the functionality, but since we are a small company, we don't have that extensive design system. So it's not the use case that much for us, but for more complex design system, it's crucial. But even without that, it was able to understand where to put it. And if I just enable the password protection, you see that all the native stuff are here, but I don't like it. So for example, Tony wouldn't like it, and Tony would be able to say, please don't use the um, the buttons here. Let me just write it quickly. All right, and I can create a new thread, which means that I can see that AI agent started to build something in the thread. And please do not use the buttons here. Please make them as a part of the text field. So I don't want them to have here. I would like them to be a part of the text field in the same way I have here in the URL. So I can open a thread and I can see what we are actually building here. So here I'm going to iterate until the point where I'm going to be satisfied with the result. Then I can decide with my team, all right, is this something that we would like to use? Does it make sense to merge it back to the main? And if we are going to agree on it, we can definitely merge it. So let's give it a minute. Hopefully it's not going to take a minute. And let's see what is going to build. All right. Actually, I got prepared and not to spend so much time on this, we can use something that I already built before, so you get the point. So here, it's not it. I'm so sorry. Is this one? So you see that we have multiple different projects already in build. So here I basically started with the same prompt, exactly the same. And we iterated with Tony here. Actually, I opened the same thread, and then we got to the point where we got this beautiful UI with everything correctly set up here. I can actually change the password, or I can regenerate. I can share it. I can save it. Everything works and looks like a product. What I can do right now is to actually say, I like the result, put it into the actual product. So what I've done is that I wanted to use it as a published prototype functionality like password protection in the actual product. So I put it into the actual product. And how does it look like now is that I'm trying to use the dark mode so you understand what is actual Supernova and what is the prototype. So here you see that it used another piece of our product to match the production. So right now it's much more easier for me to just share it with others. They don't have to be confused about why the colors don't match, why the components are not matching, and so on. They can just enjoy the new prototype. They can play around with that. They can actually try it. And what we can do also is to share it with others. So here, if I would open it, I can validate it also with customers that have like fully native experience. Of course, it's a prototype, but it's completely different level of prototype than without the design system. So here I can play around with that. I also have the images here. I can open the password. I can save the changes, and I can share this with the engineers. All right. Let me get back. Let me get back to here. Mhm. So I'm back in the prototyping. And so you can collaborate here. You can open new threads. You can merge them back. You can actually cross-reference pieces of the UI that you have in the main in the thread. So you can basically source from another iteration. It's very flexible system, so you can play around with it as you'd like. And also what you can do here is to go to the documents. And if you want to get ready for the handoff, you can, for example, as I mentioned, create a sales brief about the feature. You can create a marketing brief for someone. So this is actually something that I'm using on weekly basis when we are creating a new release, because since we are working on every single feature here, it has all the context, and basically I can provide those generated PRDs and marketing briefs to our team, and they can understand what the feature is about. I don't have to write it manually in Linear, and of course the next step is to send it to Linear to the engineers because that's their native environment where they work. But this is something that you can build as well. And as you can see here, everything is editable. You can go through it. You can invite your marketers and so on and so on. Last but not least, what is really important is the export. So Supernova can share the context about the prototypes and about the documents. You can basically connect the MCP to your cursor or Claude Code or whatever you are using, and you can pick the feature and you can stream it. If you are going to do it, you can also pick, for example, the alignment document, for example, a PRD, and you can stream it as well. And they are going to appear in your cursor. So here I already set up my MCP, and you can see really quickly what kind of tools we have there. So I'm going to show you just quickly here. Yeah, for example, here we have all the necessary tools that you need to use for sorting your design system, such as asset details, design system component detail, and so on and so on. But what is more important for our prototyping use case is that you can get through the MCP, the project document detail, and the feature artifact details, which means that you actually source the code. And why is it important? Is that if you go to the prototype, it's actually grounded in the design system, as I mentioned before. So you can see here that it's using all the components. It imports everything from the container. It's using the DM, which means dark matter, our design system. So this is something that our engineers can actually source. Of course, they are not going to use it one-to-one. They need to do some implementation work, but it's something they can start working with. It can actually streamline the handoff as much as possible. And this is something that we believe that going forward, it will be more and more powerful because the code, thanks to the improvements in the LLM, will be better and better. And if you are going to provide it with a really good context, we truly believe that this is the way how we can help many customers to move forward in a unified way with a unified context, with a unified approach to vibe coding across multiple different departments in the company, for example. So yeah, I hope that you understood what I'm trying to share here. So just to summarize about the AI context, what we truly believe in, that design systems are foundational for creating a really good context for any agent that you are using for building. It doesn't have to be only Supernova, but the design system platform is actually base foundations for creating those kind of information or context that you can use anywhere. And the second part of it is that if you want, you can use that magical context in the vibe coding and vibe code with your true design system and hand over something that actually works and feel like your product. So yeah, hopefully you like it and give it a shot. If you are interested, we can definitely take a look on it on 101 and I can walk you through it. Or if you're interested in trying it out, we have a free tier, but just a disclaimer, right now we are developing all those advanced functionalities only for the enterprise. So before we democratize it a little bit more and provide it on the self-serve, it will take some time, but if you're interested already, we are definitely happy to show you something more. So yeah, thank you so much for your attention. I hope that you at least learned something new or heard something new because that is the main point of this session. So thank you so much.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Johnny. Really great presentation. How do you feel?
I need to drink a little bit.
I,
That was so impressive.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was really
Well,
impressive. I thought this is going to be really cool and Supernova is cool, but I'm blown away by all the features you showed.
Thank
yeah.
you. I hope that it wasn't just a show off, but I hope that, for example, the approach in the cursor, how we are creating the context, we have the whole documentation, we have actually the prepared prompts. So I don't think that it's something that we need to keep for ourselves. If you are interested in how to gather your context out of the code base, it's something that we can definitely help with. So not just this. Yeah.
Amazing. My favorite one was the one where you could create threads and have multiple people in the chat. That's really, really cool. All
Uh,
right, I think we have. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I love threads as well, but I recently realized that my our CPO actually going through my threads and killing them. So that's the second part of the story. But yeah, no, please, confetti, no, don't, try something else. But yeah, that's
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, we have so many questions, and I
Yeah.
saw that Jan answered quite a few in the chat as well, which is great. Are you happy to answer a couple of questions, Joni?
Yeah, of course, and Jan can help me as well. He's for much longer in Supernova, so he will know much better probably.
Perfect. Yeah, and feel free to unmute yourself if you're around. Um, yeah, a lot of folks were asking about the updates, how the updates work, if it's automatic when the code base or Figma documentation is changed.
Yes, everything is automatic. When it comes to, scanning your code base, right now we have a tool that you can use through your CLI. So basically, when you are scanning, for example, the most up-to-date context about your code base, this is something that you can do one-off, or you can integrate with your CI. So with every single release, you can get the most up-to-date context. The difference may happen when you, for example, source some context out of your code base, but you are not going to use those same components that you, for example, recently introduced. If you are not going to edit them to the container, it won't have them. So the context itself is not just, it's not everything. You need to actually connect it to the actual components that you need to put into the container. But yeah, definitely some recent releases will have with the updating and maintenance as well. But when it comes to sourcing the design system, documentation and data from Figma and so on, once you connect one of the sources to Supernova, everything is automatically updated. So when you change something in Figma, for example, a token or whatever you are sending to Supernova, everything is automatically propagated and also updated in the documentation, which is the most important part. Because if you are going to change for example, in one of your themes or data sets, you are going to change some variable, it will get propagated automatically without your intervention.
Amazing, amazing. We have another question here around the tokens or credits consumption. Is that connected to say, if my company is using Supernova, is that connected to their subscription to like name any AI provider here,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or Supernova has its own limits?
Um, so first of all, Supernova provides both tools like this system platform and the Supernova portal where you can wipe code in one package. So basically, we don't have two offerings. Everything is connected together out of the box. We have two different offerings, like full seat, which has access, basically used by design system managers who are managing the design system, but also would like to wipe code. So full seat has access everywhere, similar to Figma. And then we have a builder meant to be only for designers who don't contribute, for example, to design systems, who just consume everything, and for PMs or even engineers who would like to prototype with the team. So if you would like to just consume the design system and build with it, I'm so sorry. You can use a builder seat. When it comes to credits, of course, similar to what other competitors have or what other companies have, there is some credit system. Uh, Depends on what tier you are, a different amount of credits you are going to get. Depends on what seat you have. The- It's also affecting amount of credits that you are going to get, of course. But yeah, feel free to check out supernova.io/pricing, and you will have everything there. I hope that I answered the question.
You did. Yeah, thank you so much. A few folks were asking whether they can have access to the presentation. Perhaps that's not an option, but where would be the best place for them to go and get all the info that you shared here today?
Uh, we have recently updated our homepage, so probably homepage would be a good source. But also, I think that if you're interested, the website is great. The documentation is great. We didn't release the most recent documentation about the code containers and everything connected to code because we have it for trialist enterprises, but we are going to do so soon. But best source of knowledge would be just ping me on Slack. I have profile into design systems community Slack. So if you are going to find me there, I'm more than happy to talk with you or share with you whatever you want.
Amazing. Yeah. please join our Into Design Systems Slack community if you haven't already. And yeah, feel free to ping Johnny within your working hours. Um, Great. How are we set for time? So, one more
Yeah,
question.
yeah, maybe two more questions if that's okay, Johnny. And
Of
maybe the
course.
Supernova team can come back later and answer some questions in this Mule board async, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Because some people have like a big question, what if you don't have a design system? Maybe that's a tricky question.
It's a great point. If you don't have design system, um, again, it means what does it mean that you have design system? But on the pro or on free tier, you can basically prototype with out-of-the-box chassis and library, which is fully customizable. So we have like theme editor that you can use to customize the chassis and library to your colors, to your roundings, to your typography, everything to match the product. But if you don't have code components, that's completely fine. If you don't have it published as NPM package, that's fine. You can use this. But even if you don't have like anything to import to Supernova, that's also completely fine. You can use just Portal. But I'm going to be 100% honest with you. If I would use Supernova without this, what I showed you, I would probably find a better value for similar money in tools like Lovable or Visa, where you can actually build end-to-end application. So if you're interested in prototyping with your design system, this is the way. Like Supernova is built for this specific use case. If you are more into, I don't have a design system, I would like to create something from scratch, you can definitely try Supernova, and I would like to encourage to do so. But from my personal experience, I would take some other tool for building end-to-end apps or something that actually works because we don't touch backend at all, for example. So that wouldn't be that helpful for actual functional applications.
Nice. Thank you. Maybe one last question, if that's okay.
Oh, back to Figma.
Yeah.
Very hot topic.
Yeah.
Very hot topic. Very complex topic. I'm gonna be short. There are a couple of different like in a short there are ways how to put it there. For example, Claude Code introduced the conversion to Figma. So there are ways how you can do it. We are trying to build the software that will actually satisfy enterprises, and they would like to have everything actually connected together. So what we are trying not to do is to turn the prototypes into Figma and break the logic of the code components and so on. So we would like to make it consistent as much as possible. So there are ways it require a lot of development on our side, not to break the logic and actually connect the code components and the Figma components in the system and then provide it maybe through the MCP so Claude Code would be able to transition it to Figma. Yes, there are ways. What we are more focusing on at this moment is that next week we are introducing the Figma import, which will be basically one-to-one from your Figma components to the code components. So what we are trying to do is actually you have something in Figma. All right, you can import it. It will understand the connection between the code components and your Figma components because LLM is smart out of the box. And then if you would like to iterate with Supernova and with Figma, I can definitely see the workflow where you have side to side both tools and you can basically source some experimental components that you are creating in Figma to Supernova. So you create something that you, for example, don't have covered in your code components yet. So that would be my approach. But in short, out of the box, no, there is no like native feature that would transition the prototypes directly to Figma and keep the logic of connection with the code.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Johnny. That was really cool. I'm super impressed with Supernova. I know there are so many AI tools out there, and but we only pick the best ones to present that into design systems. And we are even more impressed than before. Andressa, what do you think about Supernova
Yeah,
now? I
wow.
didn't know that it's so powerful.
So powerful. And I could see by the reactions in the chat that everyone was thinking, wow, they solved all of our design system problems here. Yeah, really, really great to see. Yeah, amazing presentation, Johnny. That was so easy to follow, but we it was a lot of information, but you did that brilliantly. And to everyone that was asking about recordings, you'll be able to watch Johnny's presentation again. It'll be on YouTube.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Likewise, guys, thanks for invitation and thank you so much for coming, guys. It's a pleasure to share those new things with the community. So thank you.